We simply don't have enough money to solve Canada's housing crisis.
No, that's why we're stealing it from future generations and paying interest on it.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Tom Storey Show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing with a friend. And thank you for leaving us a review. Whether that's just a comment on our YouTube channel or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we really appreciate it. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you're listening on the car, well, I hope you have on the car. If you're listening in the car, I hope on the car. I hope you're not on your car, but if you are, I still hope you're having a great day. Steve, you have a beard. What's going on? What's the beard all about?
I'm letting it get a little scruffy. I still have this patch over here, though. This part of me is still 12 years old. But the rest of it, I don't know.
There's no hope for me either. I was always thinking, well, the older I get, the better I'll be able to grow a beard. But you're much older than me. You still can't do it.
No, can't do it. Can't do it. And I'm going bald now. Look at that.
Are you going to shave it? Are you going to shave it, actually?
I'm going to shave it. I think I'm going to get there.
I don't know, man. We can jump on a flight to Turkey.
51% of my marriage. 51% of my marriage is not on board with me shaving my head. So my 49% says shave it. 51% of the rest of my marriage says don't shave it.
Hey, it's all about confidence. Bald can be sexy. Okay, so we got no issues there. Steve, this is a catch-up episode. We have so many topics to cover. Has everybody, you think, cooled down since the budget? It's been quite a few weeks now. Are you still finding that's the topic of conversation with people you're talking to, or have people
still hate
down?
It?
Yeah.
I did have a lot of calls about it. There are a lot of people that were thinking about getting rid of their investment properties as a result of it, which I think is a panic.
But isn't that what they want you to do? Because doesn't that get the government more money and it brings more supply to the market? Doesn't that just prove hey, maybe this worked?
Probably. I just think there's going to be so much. I don't know. It'll just reverse. When they realize, oh yeah, wait a minute, we do need investment and business in this, they'll be like, yeah, we're going to change that back. Because they've done it before, right? It used to be 75% before, and then they dropped it to 50, they dropped it back 66. Yeah. So I think I'm going to hold on to my property long enough so they're going to drop it when they actually want to.
When you eventually sell it, it will drop again? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I won't sell it until, I don't plan on selling it. It will be my retirement income. Mm-hmm. But it's, I do think that eventually when they realize, oh, wait a minute, we need investment and making money isn't a bad thing and you're not a bad person when you make money, they'll drop it again and spur on investment.
But you're a bad person if you make money in real estate only. That's what I've learned over the past
No. I think you're starting to become...
years.
The Sith Lord that is Jagmeet Singh is becoming he's trying to make it so anyone that makes money is evil, right? Except for him. So yeah, I don't
know. We've been talking a lot about the fact that market is shifting in both directions here, and it really depends on what you're trying to sell, what price point it's at. And I just had an experience where I got an offer on one of my listings, and we were not able to bring it together. It was just too far off the other agent. And when you get into it with the other agent, not yelling or anything, but you kind of have maybe pissing match is the wrong word. No, that's exactly what it was for me. And I'm very usually calm. I'm all right, no worries. If you don't think it, that's okay. We'll wait for someone else to come to the table. But just the way I was getting these emails, and it wasn't even on the phone. It was emails. Basically saying you're wrong. This is what's going to happen. I'm listen, man, if you want to have a battle about numbers, you picked the wrong person today. Give me your point of view and I'll just show you what the numbers are saying. And even when I showed the numbers, then the emails just stopped on the other side. But I found for me being this mix of okay, I love the numbers, but what we've talked about before, you can tell whatever story you want with the numbers, whatever direction you're trying to take it, for the most part. And I also like the fact that we're actively on the ground level with buyers and sellers, right? So you can get a feel of what's happening next as well. Mm-hmm. But there's so many agents that are arguing with me right now on pricing and values, and I'm I I appreciate your opinion. It's just wrong. But you can't, unless if they're an emotional person or they're working with a few people and they've only done 3 sales this year, like you're not going to tell them they're wrong and they're going to believe you.
But I had the other side of the experience this week where I was talking to a guy and I was like, yeah, hey, we went up 20% in listings. And, this is stopping. Like anybody putting a direction of offers on, or an offer date, as you guys call it, on their properties right now is foolish.
It's working.
And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's work. It's the only way. He actually said to me, it's the only way to get buyers to write because you have to make them panic in order to get them to write on your property.
Which isn't actually wrong a lot of the time.
Okay, so it might work in this transition period. It may work, but as soon as we go into the full buyer's market, of which we're heading into right now, unless something dramatic changes, it's not going to work for long. So he's sitting here telling me that he's, I'm putting a direction on absolutely everything. And so I looked at 2 of his listings just today, and one had a $50,000 price reduction. The other one was a $100,000 price reduction.
Isn't that the old, you can't get a price reduction if you don't get the listing?
That appears to be the way it's going. So I don't know. I just, maybe I should put out a video.
It's like, Steve, you spend enough time arguing with people in the YouTube comments. You don't also have to spend time arguing with other real estate agents.
I do spend time arguing with other agents quite often. But I mean, it just depends which side of it you're coming from, because you also have listings that are obviously not sold. So that means the sellers are asking too much, right? But you do have to disconnect. So for instance, talking to a person that had a legitimate problem with the property.
Sure.
And that problem is going to probably cost them money.
Mm-hmm.
And then as an agent, like we're like, oh, well, can I not sell it for that much because of this problem? And as an agent, you have to stop and go, wait a minute. It's not my fault. This property is in disrepair. I have to sell this property for market value.
Yep.
And if the owner has, by fault of their own or not, let this property go into disrepair, that's that. So that's another element that we're seeing. We are seeing like 6s, 7s, even 8s sitting on the marketplace. And only the top of the top right now.
This
from
is
what I'm seeing is
for
selling.
Detached properties.
Mostly detached, but the overall
in just
market.
Surrey or just everywhere?
Well, the numbers haven't posted yet, but I think we are going to be at one of our lowest Aprils for sales in
sales volume.
Sales volume.
But
lower, it's going to be lower than March. So April will be lower than March, which
March
is
was
not,
such a it was such a low month.
Not a thing.
You know what I found funny? I was sometimes I'll go into the YouTube Studio app for the podcast channel and I'll just see what comments are coming on it. It's always interesting to see comments coming in on older videos. And there was a comment that just kind of summed up perfectly what you've been saying this whole time. Like all this transparency, all the way the system works, the new forms we have to show, everything. And you're like, the buyers and sellers don't care. Like they just want they have a goal and they're trying to complete that goal, and that's getting in the way of them completing that goal, even though we have to legally explain these things. And based on the titles of one of our past episodes, someone was like, you guys wasted my time. I'm an active buyer. I just want to know what's going on in the market. I don't care about this lawsuit that's going on in the States. And I was like, wow, Steve might have been right.
Yeah. Also, welcome to podcasting.
Well,
like it's a conversation, but no, they don't care. They really don't care. They want to know good time, bad time.
Most people.
And that's where you stop.
I wonder.
I don't know. May I say though, my main channel, since I have said that the market is going into a buyer's market, like prices will likely come down.
Let me guess what's happened. Can I guess?
Go ahead.
You're actually getting views again?
Not only am I actually getting views, I'm getting
You're crushing me.
I know. Yeah. So like everybody loves that stuff. And then you get the good old, sure. I told you so. Sure. Like, no. The market changes. The market goes up. The market goes down. Prices increase. Prices decrease. Prices increase more often than they decrease.
But have they actually decreased in a meaningful way, or has just more inventory? So it hasn't quite happened, but it's looking like that's the path it's going if this remains, right?
Yeah, but if you're adding, I think we added like 3,000 active listings and only had like 1,000 sales for the month of April. That is not a good ratio for like inventory growing quickly.
No, it's not.
Right. So now if that continues for 3 or 4 more months, we're going to be,
So,
the market will be absolutely terrible if we get to a spot where like we're 50% over what should be normal. So if I get to 9,000 listings here, if I check one day and it's 9,000 listings in the market, it's going to be bad.
when was the last time that happened?
2010, 2011, we
Okay,
were
it's been a
at
long time.
consistently 10 or 11 or 12,000 listings.
That's like Greater Toronto area board numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot. And we're way bigger than you.
When I first got into the business and I remember coaching with Dana, who's been a guest on this show. And I was like, not the opposite. Like the last few years have been like, oh, should I, how do I get them into this property because there's 20 other offers? Back then it was, there's 157 listings available. Which one do I even show them? Like my clients are like, we could view these 700 listings. And I'm like, I mean, no, we can't physically. So which ones are we going to pick? So at one point I remember only picking the end unit townhomes with the powder room on the main, with the rec room down below. Like we're only picking the best of the best of the best layouts.
So that's, and would you classify those as the 9s or 10s out of 10?
In layout, yeah.
Yeah. So then, I mean, but that kind of lines up with what you're talking about now. It's like you're saying the ones that are moving are the 9s, 10s again now with less inventory than then, but obviously way higher prices. And something you had mentioned there is like, if the market remains where it is for the next 3 months, I think what I've started to realize on posting these videos and doing this podcast with you is that I find sometimes me and you might forget actually who's listening. We're like, we have very experienced real estate agents listening that know everything we're talking about. You got highly educated consumers that are just, they really love this. But then once in a while, you're getting someone that knows absolutely nothing that's jumping on listening to one episode, right? And I feel
also realtors.
But we kind of will skip over things sometimes because it's like, oh, that's so obvious. I don't have to talk about it. But we should talk about the fact that like, when me or Steve on our channels talk about months of inventory, like that was last month, right? And the numbers that we're telling you for months of inventory only matter if it stays at that number for a significant period of time.
You have to look at the trend.
That's it. So it's like,
so if the trend is increasing every month by 2 months of inventory, that's a bad thing.
And that will tell you probably what could potentially happen with prices.
Not probably.
What fine will happen with prices, or at least sales. Well, not always.
If the current trend continues,
because you can have inventory come on at a fast pace, but if it's being absorbed at a fast pace, I guess that would bring down the months of inventory. Then, okay, fine.
Yeah, so I just did a little short on my channel a little bit ago that was like, look at the differential. So look at the active listings are up 900, but the sales are down 100. So there's actually 1,000 listing differential, and that's the exact amount that added to inventory. 20% of listings added to inventory over that period of time. So yeah, I don't see it. The weird thing is I don't really see there's not one thing causing it. So it is heavily more in the detached though. So I do think you're going to see detached come back into line, and the townhouse products and the condo products are still pretty good. So, what's really hurting is really crappy layout condo. I'm starting to see a lot of really crappy layout condos come.
So that's where we finally have something similar about our markets. Because if you look at the city of Toronto as a whole right now, inventory levels, we are firmly in seller's market territory for detached, semi-detached, and attached row townhouse freehold properties. Like all three of them, well under 2 months of inventory in the 416 area code. Condos, about 4.5 months of inventory.
Good market.
That's the funny thing. I know. Literally after we record today, I'm driving down to Oakville. I'm doing a presentation in front of a lot of people. I'm not going to say what company, because I don't know. I don't want to say it, but a big company, and they want me to come in and explain to them like what the hell's going on with the Toronto condo market. So it actually kind of be cool. Maybe I'll get to it later in this episode. I'll share some of the numbers I prepared because I think that's information people would like. But it's such a different market happening. There was actually 2 sales that happened that were similar to my house in my neighborhood. And I've talked to you about this offline where I'm like, you know what? When I bought my house, it might be worth less now. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's worth less now, at least 50 grand or whatever. Not based on these last two sales. Now I'm like, okay, I'm right back where I was. So I'm kind of surprised because it's like you hear, interest rates aren't going to go down as fast as we thought, or when the heck are they even going to go down? And then in my world, because we're so focused on, we help people sell a lot of condos and we help people buy a lot of houses. And now we're getting into a lot of the house listings as well, like just as our clients mature. I'm working in two completely different markets at the same time. And it's very interesting, the conversations I'm having over here versus over here. Hey, I like your bracelet. Is that new?
My oldest made this. It says Dad.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I lost the first one she made me, and now
I made you one that said idiot
with my name on it, where my name is now Dad. So it now says that. If you make me a bracelet that says idiot Tom, I will wear it.
You'll wear it?
Yeah, on this side.
Just put it on top so it says idiot dad in that order.
That's probably more realistic. Yeah. World's okayest dad. I'm famous for that shirt.
World's okayest dad. I got a question for you. Do you know for a fact that any of the buyers that your team has helped this year closed?
What's a buyer and how do I get one? Go ahead. Sorry.
Did any of them close and take a variable rate?
No.
You seem disgusted by my question.
No.
Okay. So then.
Yeah. Here, you want this 6.5% rate when I can get you 4.99 on 3 years? No. Why would you do that?
Following question to jump off of that is, okay, then why are we all so obsessed with what Bank of Canada does or doesn't do in the next, 6 months?
Because you don't want to be proven wrong and that Steve is right?
No, I'm just asking you. Like, why are we...
No, I gave you the answer. That's the correct answer because I didn't think we were going to see the cuts. And now...
You think there's going to be no cuts?
I didn't think we're going to see the cuts that they said.
No, who's they?
They.
Oh, they. Okay.
Certain people that may have been on this podcast and maybe have not been on this podcast.
So going back, you said 2 cuts. I said 3 cuts. A lot of the big bank people said like 5, 6, like lots of cuts.
And I thought earliest June, if not July, earliest.
Okay, and we're still lining up to seeing if we were right or wrong.
I think if they were smart, they would start to reduce now because they would get ahead of it.
Yeah, so they're not doing 50 pointers later on.
Mm.
But they're
only going to do 50 points if something cracks, right?
Well, that's it. But there's a big segment here that just thinks like, not only are rate cuts not happening in 2024 from Bank of Canada, but you might actually see a rate increase. I don't think so.
I mean, the only reason you're going to see an increase is because inflation goes up, and inflation would only go up because of housing costs and carbon taxes. So,
right, which is a pretty simple way to look at it. I'm hoping the powers that be look at it the same way.
Hey agents, a clean and easy to manage real estate website is a must. Go to realtyninja.com/Tom right now and start your site totally for free and pay nothing until you launch. And then when it is your time to go live, you will save 20% off of your entire first year just for signing up at realtyninja.com/Tom.
Now, we know, I've got a quiz for you here, Steve, and I want the viewers to see how right or wrong you're going to be.
About Jagmeet being a Sith Lord or no?
No,
he's not smart enough to be a Sith Lord.
Leave Star Wars out of this.
Why? Because Jagmeet's more evil than what's his name? Palpatine?
I just don't think we need to be a political podcast. I think we can be a real estate podcast we can talk about politics when it makes sense to talk about politics, but I'm not going to openly talk crap. You can say whatever you want. I'm just giving you my opinion on it.
I will say whatever I want.
Oh, I'm well aware.
Your name's on the show doesn't mean I can't say anything.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fine with me. 4 of the big banks, this is very recent, as of us recording this, have still said what their projections are. Okay, their projections, which let's remind ourselves how wrong they were with rates going up, but how wrong they could be with rates going down. I want you to guess. I'm going to give you the name of the bank. I want you to guess where they think the overnight rate is going to be at in Q1 of 2025. Okay,
so 3 quarters from now. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with Big Red, with Scotia. Where do you think they said the overnight rate's going to be?
They usually exaggerate. So they're going to say more than 1%. And they also exaggerated on the going up, and they weren't exaggerated enough.
Yeah, they were.
So I'm going to say they're sub 4.
Ding, ding, ding. 3.75. Good answer.
There you go.
CIBC, who's also red. What do you think they said?
They're not red. They're maroon.
They rebranded like 2 years ago. It still looks red
now?
to me. I don't know. Whatever.
Maroon moron, maybe. I don't know. They
What do you think?
I don't know. What are they?
Q1 25.
Probably not as aggressive. I'm going to say Scotia would have been the most aggressive, so they're going to say like 4.25.
Nope, they said 3.5.
Even more.
Yeah, they were more aggressive than Scotia. They said by Q1 25, Bank of Canada overnight rate, their projection is 3.5.
Is CIBC a thing out there?
What's that?
Is CIBC like a thing in the East? Like it's
absolutely. They're very
not
big
a big
here.
prominent bank here. It's
CIBC is big.
It is the 5th bank of the big 5 for sure. Like
I don't know how you would rank them in Ontario, but CIBC is a massive bank here. Big comfy green chair bank. What do you think they said?
They said, I don't know. I can't imagine anybody says below 4, so they should say 4. I'm going to say 4.25 again.
They said 3.5 as well.
So everyone thinks that it's going to be real problems then. The bankers,
I guess so.
Real problems.
They must know something that we don't quite know. And then BMO, I'll just tell you, they were actually the ones that said it's only going to be at 4% by Q1 2025. So even BMO, the most conservative in rate drops based on those 4, still thinks you're going to see 4 25-point cuts potentially between now and the end of Q1 25. Like, are they all going to be that wrong? Like, is there a world you think we get there? And
the answer is yes, they're all going to be that wrong. But how wrong are they? Yeah.
Do you think overnight rate could still be at 5% in Q1 of 25? You think it's possible?
I don't.
No? Okay.
I just don't see how it's going to... I don't know. I think things are getting really tough. And it's definitely having the desired effect. And unfortunately, overtaxation is going to have an even greater effect. Right. So I do think it's got to come down. But I don't think it's going to happen nearly as dramatically as people like. And they always wait too long to make their decisions. Rather than these nice, calm, like, tell you what, we're going to tweak this a 1/4 point every 3 months or every 6 months. They're like, we're going to hold it here for too long. Remember they hold it down for too long?
Yeah.
Remember I had that whiteboard in the back of my videos 2-3 years ago that said, make money expensive again? Right? Like that they waited too long. That's all it was.
All right. One of our favorite topics here on this show is landlords and renting out properties and just how greedy these little slippery guys are, like Steve.
Hoarding properties.
I am a landlord as well. Steve recently, but this isn't just like your investment property that you are not living in and you rented it out to somebody else. This is your house.
Yeah, I have a basement.
This is your basement apartment in your house. So it's like, I've never done that before. There's got to be a little bit more like when it's that, you really want to meet with them and know who they are. And not that you don't with the other scenario, but it's like they're living below me. I'm going to see them. It's way more
important. There's no pets. There's no nothing in my basement suite. It's not like in the condo. It's like, sure, I don't care. Pay a pet deposit. It's fine. But in my house, not cheap.
Okay. So can I ask you a few questions before you share the story? About what happened, because you recently had a tenant that was there for a while that left, and you've re-rented it out.
Yeah, we moved our tenants in 2021 March. Okay. So a year into the pandy. That time, what was it? $1,250 the rent.
$1,250. Okay, and since then,
the tenant pool at that time was fantastic. Like I could have had 10 tenants that I could have picked, and they all had great jobs, like everything was wonderful. And I had folks that moved in that actually became friends to the degree.
But do you want to become too close with your tenants? Like, do you want to have a beer outside with them and really get to know them?
Yeah, sure.
But where's the line where it's like, then you become, because you ask your friends for favors. Is there a line there? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. It's still, it kept good. But, every once in a while, if we're having a party, we'd invite them up, and they came around once in a while. They stopped coming around, I guess. So, maybe that tells you something about me. But no, they were fantastic people. Sorry to see them go.
Why did they leave? What was their reason for leaving?
I don't know what the deal is, but they have some sort of an agreement to purchase part of a property from a family member or something, or with family, or like whatever it is. I think they're maybe moving into a basement suite of a family member. I don't really know. I didn't dive into it. They just said, yeah, it's time for us to move on. And somehow they're actually getting involved with the ownership of the property. I don't know what it is.
I'd love to get them as a guest on this show. You think that's possible in the future? You think they would do that?
I highly doubt it. Maybe.
That would, to me, that would be so interesting to ask them questions about you as a landlord, and
how much does Steve yell at his kids upstairs?
And
I will tell you, I will save you the episode a lot.
Okay, so they left. They bought a property in some capacity. That's great. Good for them. That's awesome. Great. When they left, because I know they started at, you said 12 something. I'm assuming you raised the rent over that period of time. When they left, what was the rent that they were paying when they left?
13.
Okay, so not much.
13,
but whatever those 3% or whatever it was for you over those years. Okay.
Yeah.
You've released it out. What was the experience like? Did you have a bunch of offers? Was it competitive? Did you have lots of people to choose from?
Tons of inquiries. So here we do it different than you guys. I don't know if you don't do your leases. You do like apartment leases on MLS, but you don't do like basement rentals on MLS.
You can. You absolutely can.
Really?
I mean,
oh wow.
Not many realtors do it, but yes, you can.
Okay, so you do that. Here, everything, even apartments, are pretty much Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist.
Okay.
And you're usually going direct. If you are dealing with a property manager, it's rare, but they'll be like apartment buildings.
Sure.
Maybe offshore or distant guys or whatever, but like realistically, or landlords, but you're probably going direct. So I had direct contact with all of these folks. And I will say Craigslist used to work. Now Craigslist is for people older than me. And now it's Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
So, but I have a trick. So I put out my ad, and as every owner of real estate does, my suite's better than everybody else's, right? That's
of course.
what I think. So I put out an ad, and I put it up for $1,700 for a one bed. Now that's utilities in. And I got responses, but I didn't get good responses. Like I got some responses and people that were interested, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. So, when I got real, so that was early, right when they served notice. I did that just to test the water. So I ended up.
Did you get anybody negative, like send you a message being like, "This price is insane. What are you thinking?" No. Or was it just like, okay?
No, nobody being. There's some weirdos out there, especially on Marketplace.
What a shock! Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I put it out there. I reduced the price to $1,550 because that's what I thought it would really go for. And then the messages were like,
can I just acknowledge something which is kind of funny? Is like, even you, knowing what you know, listing your own property, I know it was just a rental. Mm-hmm. Even you were like, well, let's just try it a little higher and see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to test the market because I was like,
of course. I guess it's harder because you can't really find comps like you could for a sale.
But you also, you don't tarnish your reputation because there's no listing. So like,
what does the seller care about your reputation?
No. Your reputation of the listing. Like if you come on MLS at a high price.
I see what you're saying.
They're like, price reduction. Oh, it's not worth that. Price reduction. Then you get low balls.
You don't want to burn the listing. Yeah.
There's no MLS for rentals. So you just don't, you don't worry about that. So I took it down for a few days, put it back up at $1,550. The messages started coming in like silly, absolutely silly. Probably the worst buyer pool for a rental I've ever seen.
Why?
A tenant pool. Just weird stuff. So, but I have a trick. So here's my trick. I write out the description, the beginning of my description. I say, read this entire article or posting before responding. And then the last article says, if you don't respond with this manner, yes, no pets is okay. Yes, maximum 2 occupants is okay. Whatever the like things are, right? Then if you don't respond to that, I'm deleting. If you say, is this available? I'm deleting I'm not responding to you. So that's 90%. People just hit that. Is this available? Is this available? Is this available? I'm just not responding. I just delete.
Sure.
So that's my trick to get past the people that are not putting in enough effort to even read the description. And then when they do respond and they say, yes, Steve, I understand. It's no smoking, no pets, maximum 2 occupants. Then I'll start having the conversation. But man, did I get some weird stuff. I was getting folks that were like nearing their 90s.
What?
Yeah. Like I'm like, you're not dying in my basement. Like I'm sorry, I'm not renting to an old folks. But
that's just sad though.
It is sad. Do you know what the worst part was? The one that sticks in my brain where I was like, this guy really, he was getting evicted by his own kids. Yeah. He lived in his kids' rental property and they were selling it and kicking him out. And I'm like, wait a minute, if your kids aren't going to put up with you, that's like a warning sign for me, right? So anyway, but just weird stuff. The amount of messages I got that say, I'm coming from India in 3 weeks. My husband will be coming 4 months later.
Oh.
You know, can I pay you now to save this spot? I was like, nope, like Canadian credit only. Like I'm not doing any of this stuff because who knows what that is? They could be good, hardworking people from India coming. They could also be absolute scams, right? Like there's all sorts of rental, like e-transfer scams that go on. There's
Did I tell you what happened to me?
No.
Would you want me to talk about it after?
You got scammed?
Well, it was silly. Basically, I'm going to talk about this at high level to not give away anything. A friend of mine who I trust was basically
was his name Tom Storey?
No. This actually wasn't me. Like I actually I was trying to help somebody. A friend of mine was like, hey, like they had just come back from the States. All their banking was there. Like this was all true. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'm getting this couch dropped off. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, they ordered the couch from whatever. Like I just didn't ask questions because I just knew the person. And they're asking for a $50 deposit for the delivery. But like all my banking, I'm like, whatever. It's like, send me the email. I'll send $50 for you. Like whatever. It's total scam. Yeah. I didn't realize it was a Facebook marketplace thing. Not only, so whatever, I lose my $50. I argued it. I didn't get it back. It's okay. So, but the scam worked. That's the annoying part. I was just trying to help a friend. I didn't realize the behind of it. But then because of it, I was locked out of my entire bank for 2 days. And I had to go in, get a new card, change my PIN, everything because I sent an e-transfer.
Yeah, so am I a terrible landlord because I'm trying to not get involved with an overseas scam or...
No, like,
I don't know.
Well, no, you're not because I'm example A of like, I wasn't even actually involved in it. I was just helping someone I trusted.
You're actually the second person this week that's told me a story about an online furniture scam.
Anything on Facebook, by the way, going back to Facebook Marketplace, never, ever, ever, ever send somebody a deposit for something.
Yeah.
Never.
It's
probably a scam.
It was the same thing. Yeah. So so anyway, I end up now. I also have another thing, which is once you go past my first level of yes, this many occupants, whatever, then it's like, okay, I'm setting up showings. I block them in showings. So if you set up 20 showings for a tenant, 7 of them are going to show up. They just
you're doing like open house almost time zones.
Kind of, yeah, like block 15-minute showing. So it's like, send me your phone number. I'll call you with a time. So now I go through the second level of like, I'm making sure you're a real person. You're connected to the phone number, whatever. So I set them all up. I had some interesting ones. I did not have nearly the great pool that I had the previous time. But what I was doing was when I was trying to price it, I was doing my research. I type into Facebook Marketplace, 1 bedroom Surrey rental. And now 1 bedroom units don't come up.
It's 1 bed in a Yeah.
Bedrooms come up. Private bedrooms. A private bedroom is now $1,000.
It's disgusting.
And then even worse than that, shared bedrooms start coming up. I found one ad. I don't know who can do something about this. CRA even maybe. I found one ad. It was a 3-bedroom basement rental, 3 cots per room, $600 per cot per month. And these were like army style, like a cot, like at best a $99 IKEA single bed in the rooms. They showed pictures of it. And then the eating area or the common area with the cooking facilities and everything looked like a mess hall, like folding IKEA tables. I'm like, somebody is running like a foreign student rooming house, I guess.
Let's talk about like the ethical side of this. So if all the people that pay that $600 and they feel like they're getting a good deal, like you and me are looking at this and being like, I could never do that, right? But there's lots of people that's literally their only option. If they're getting their option.
No, but I could never do the landlord side.
Well, of course not. Of course.
Right.
Like hopefully I made that clear.
If I was in the position where I'm like a 22-year-old kid, like if I was immigrating to a different country and I was hard up, I'd be like, I would probably actually take that. Like I can make that happen. I have no possessions. Toss my clothes underneath the bed and hope they're there when I get home at the end of the day. But I can make that happen.
Right.
But the landlord, I'm like, so this guy's cranking out. This is a 3-bedroom unit, each with 3.
You're probably making a lot of money.
We cannot do that math. I cannot do 600 times 9. But if I did, I would assume it's a lot more money than my regular basement suite. But it's just disgusting. It just looked like institutional. Like it didn't look good. And I don't know. So I was a little bit.
If we had brought that up to Ravi, what do you think the response would have been?
Tax the rich.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. No, but it's disgusting. But I mean, that's not even a Ravi issue, right? Like but it's a housing issue. It's an immigration issue.
Okay. Well, immigration issues turn to housing issues.
So I was just talking to somebody else just down the street from my house here. They were doing like a bottle drive and they were knocking on doors and somebody answered the door from the carport. There's like a built-in, they had a family of 6 living in the carport, 2 full queen-size mattresses on the ground and like a little hot plate on a counter. I don't even know if there was a sink in there.
That's sad.
Like, it's getting gross. And this is the first time I've ever really seen that. Like this is when I've done comparables on my rentals in the past, never before have I seen shared room accommodations.
If that family enjoys it and the landlord offers it, I know like there's zoning issues here on how many people can live in a house. Like I get, trust me, I get all that. But like, what are you supposed to do?
Well, I'm just saying it's showing you a result of how much money people are making and what they're willing to live in. It also goes to show you where they're coming from and how they feel this is the better option. So, I mean,
was living like that? Are you saying that those living accommodations are still better than where they immigrated from to Canada, and that's why they're okay with it?
Maybe,
perhaps, maybe.
I don't know. I've never been to those countries, so I don't know where they're coming from or what they're. I don't know. It was a real eye opener to see how some folks are living, but at 1550. The amount of people that were interested and the amount of people that filled out applications. Often when I show the unit, like if I show any of my rentals to 10 groups, I'll have one application back. I was getting all of them.
Oh, everybody's
not all of them. Not all of them. So when I interview, I don't know if I should tell this part. When I interview, if I think you're okay, I'll offer you an application. If I don't think you're okay, I'll be like, you know what? Think about it overnight. Get back to me tomorrow. Let me know if you're interested in an application. And then those people never do.
Never do.
So I think I got, of the 7 or whatever it was I showed in person, 4 of them provided applications.
So you got 4
and then
offers.
I run it.
I mean, I know this application, but it's an offer.
It's an application.
Well, okay, it's an offer.
Maybe.
Did any of them No, so they knew they were against four other people or three other people?
No. I just say, hey, fill this out, return it
Okay.
to me. And I do let them know, like, I won't run your credit unless, like,
We're
I
gonna
think
go
you're
with you. Yeah.
unless you're in number one spot, right? I'll
Sure.
check your references first, make sure all that's good. And then the last step is to run your credit.
And
I
so you
did
ended
run
up leasing it for $1,550?
$1,550. Yeah. So now, thankfully, my entire mortgage is paid for, which is crazy. But my entire mortgage is paid for from my rental. I got a raise. There's one less person living in there because it's a single person now going to be living in there. So it was very interesting. I did think about not renting it out for a minute.
You could create a really cool podcast studio down there.
I know, right? It'd be pretty sick.
I've actually never seen that side of your basement because it's always been rented whenever I've been to your house. I don't have no clue what that looks like. You should send me the pictures.
Yeah.
Send me the pictures of when you were renting it.
Where I am now, like it's walled off, and then
it's on the other side.
That's the side we created to rent out, right? But yeah, it's I don't know. It was eye opening for sure. Definitely be careful, I guess, is the thing. Well, I've heard a lot of people that have not run credit.
You have to, and
you gotta
run your own credredit, right? Yeah, with their approval.
Just telling people you're going to run their credit, the bad credit people will tell you how bad their credit is.
Of course. Yep.
Right. But young folks, lots of young folks, lots of kind of mixed. There was one guy showed up. He's like, I just wanted to measure the driveway so I know where I can park my utility trailer. I'm like, you can park your utility trailer at your other rental because that's not included in this rental. Like the amount of people that come by and they're like, okay, so where can we plant our plants and where can we put our bikes? I'm like,
I could just imagine you rent it out to someone. They show up with a massive car and a blue tarp to put over it.
Oh, you should see my addendum is pretty. My addendum's pretty solid.
Oh, what a shock! Steve's a detailed, focused landlord. Hey, but I actually think
about.
You got 4 applications. I actually think you could have. So let's give you some credit here. You could have got more than $1,550.
Oh, I could have got $1,900 a month if I would have taken a family of 3. The amount of like family of 3s that applied. If I would have taken pets and families of 3 or 4. I could have got $2,000 a month for a 1-bed. I was also shocked at the amount of people that were roommates looking to share a 1-bed. And I was like, so a couple of them were like, 2 guys show up, and I'm like, oh, they didn't show up. They messaged. We didn't get so far as showing up. And I was like, okay, so you guys are together or whatever? They're like, no, we're just friends and we're roommates. And I'm like, oh, this isn't like you guys both get to rent out a 1-bed and bring your girlfriends over. Like that's not what this is going to be, right? Like if you're a couple, that's one thing, but if you guys are just roommates, like we're not having a whole group, because you know what happens when you move in single people is they usually move in somebody else.
Of course, they get into a relationship,
right. So anyway, it's just a disaster of all sorts of things. It was definitely worse than before, and it was definitely enough to make me consider not renting it out in the future. Now that I have the ability to not rent it out, I don't rely on any of that income.
Because you don't rely on it, right, after this one.
If you are a real estate agent in Ontario, you know all about TRESA and RICO's information guide, but your clients don't. So we are excited to introduce you to TRESAvideo.ca. It's a dynamic tool designed to help you simplify the complexities of TRESA while explaining RICO's information guide to your clients. TRESA Video is more than just a visual aid. It's a strategic investment in your brand's integrity and your client's education. Tom and his team use their own custom branded video that they purchased from TRESAvideo.ca in communications with their clients. Simply embed a link in your email signature, upload your video to YouTube, place it on your website, share it via text, or integrate your custom branded video into email campaigns using any CRM. Check out TRESAvideo.ca or click the link below. Quickly upload your branding and instantly elevate your trust and transparency with your clients. That's TRESAvideo.ca. TRESA video.ca.
I wanted to go over some points here. I know what I've found, and I think it's just because of what's been happening with that side of the market and the fact that it represents so much percentage of the sales that happen in Toronto. But my condo videos have been really doing well view-wise, like more than the housing videos. It's been interesting for whatever reason. As I said before, like I'm literally, after we're done recording today, I'm jumping in my car, driving 45 minutes to Oakville and doing a presentation on this. So I want to give you the key points because I think, what do you want to say?
Wait a minute, you are a big time influencer now because you got clipped on the CBC.
I did get clipped. It was funny. I had a few people send that to me, and actually that video, I wish CBC allowed comments on their YouTube channel. They disable comments. I was flattered. It was like they showed like that plain bagel guy who's got like, I think over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, way bigger than us. And then they showed JT and a news anchor, and then there was me talking about supply. And I was like, oh, that's nice of them. I had a few people send that to me. I actually think that video, by the way, was really good. I think the host Andrew did a really good job because.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your video.
No, I don't care about me.
No,
it was really good because it was like, we all talk about wanting to bring housing prices down. On a political level, no one's going to come out and openly say we're going to bring down prices, because then you're telling 66% of the Canadian population you're going to bring down the value of their property.
Is that what you got out of that video?
That is what I got. It's literally what he says in the video.
In the first 30 seconds, did you just waited to the part where you were
No, I did not. No, I did not. I watched the entire thing. Thank you very much. But
that video was, let me put on my Alberta hat for a minute.
Sure.
Let me switch sides here. That video was, I mean, CBC propaganda to get people normalized to renting and saying it's totally fine to rent. It's fine. We're going to become a renter's economy.
You're saying
that's what it was.
He gave examples of other countries where renting is totally normal. And so that's what you're trying to say?
They started to basically say we need to
we need to look at houses like it's a car, when you drive the car off the lot, it goes down in value.
They were trying to purposely say we should.
I didn't think it was that malicious though, or I didn't think they took it in a tone that was like it's fully one-sided. I don't really think it was actually.
The tone is always soft because it's the CBC, and we need to talk about gently things like you owning nothing and being happy in your rental. That's what that was. That was like hey guys, guess what? The government's about to own all the houses and you're about to rent off of them, so you better enjoy it.
I'm trying, Steve, I'm trying very carefully to watch media from every side and not immediately decide that I'm going to disagree with them before I start watching it on both sides of this. I'm very much trying my best.
Are still under 40.
I don't care if I'm clipped in the video or not. That doesn't change my opinion. I thought it was actually a pretty well put together video, and I thought
it was a great video that had some points and
some good editing too. Whoever's editing their videos, props. Really good editing.
They just subscribe to your channel. That's why you like them.
CBC is certainly not subscribed to my channel publicly.
Whoever edited that video is. Oh, they don't subscribe. They don't allow comments.
Well, even either the editor watches my channel or Andrew, the host, does, because otherwise I wouldn't have been in that video because nobody asked me. They don't have to ask me, but
you want it to be Andrew, don't you?
Yeah, because I think he's I think he does a good job. I do. It's not the first video of his I've watched. I've watched quite a few.
Yeah, no. That segment can be good.
They do a pretty good job. All right.
Okay. Enough.
Thank you for making me feel special there for a second.
We'll leave crapping on the CBC up to Pierre Poilievre from now on.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm going to give you some point form facts about the condo market, not opinions, facts and numbers. Okay. Right now, if nothing changes, like we talked about earlier in this episode, condo prices will not go up this year. Period. End. We are firmly in a balanced condo market, and prices will not go up. But it's also at a point with inventory that if we also remain like this, prices won't go down either. That's where we are. We're stuck right now. We're stuck.
Yeah, that's in this called 4 months of inventory, 4.5 months of inventory. That's where you are. You're in a balanced market.
Now, if you look at the condo ownership, which I include condo townhouses and condo apartments because they're condo ownership, in what percentage of sales are they representing on all the properties that have sold so far in 2024? the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, which I probably said this before, but I'll just clarify, is Toronto, York Region, Durham, Peel, Halton, Simcoe County, and Dufferin County. It is a massive area. Just condos, 37% of all the sales so far this year, in a huge area, and most of those areas don't even have condos, right? So it's a lot are happening in Toronto. If you just look at the city of Toronto, almost 60% of the transactions that have taken place so far in 2024 are condos. Okay, so the condo market is important because it represents such a big portion of where the sales are actually coming from. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at all the sales so far in the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board for all those areas for condos, just for condo apartments, there's been just under 5,000 transactions up to us recording this today. Almost 3,000 of those 5,000 transactions took place between $500,000 and $700,000.
Sorry, what percentage? 5 to 700,000.
So sorry, almost. Let me say that again. Almost 3,000 of the 5,000 sales so far. So 3 out of 5 properties sold somewhere in between $500,000 up to $700,000. That $200,000 price point gap represented a huge chunk of all the sales. Over $1 million. This shouldn't really be surprising to people, but it was like less than 5% of the market.
I have a question for you about Toronto condos. So if we're looking for livable units, why does everyone hate 3-bedroom condos so much?
Because they stuff 3 bedrooms in 800 square feet with terrible floor
so
plans.
they're still 800 square feet. It's not like they're 1,200 square feet.
Well, the new 3 bedrooms they're building, they call them 3 bedrooms, but they are sardine can.
Junior 3 bedrooms?
Yeah,
like one bedroom and 2 glass rooms?
Yeah, they're certainly smaller second and third
figure
bedrooms.
If I was living downtown and I'm a professional, I would want to try and get like a 1,100 square foot condo. With
you can get that, but it's not going to be new. Typically, it's not going to be new. It's going to be an older building, right?
Which is what we're going to run into now. We're going to stuff people into a bunch of buildings that they don't want to be in because only investors wanted to buy them and investors aren't buying them. So now we're going to try and get end users into 400 square foot junior 1-beds.
No, they're not buying those. They have no interest in them.
No, it's
I'm telling you, I'm seeing this. Nobody's buying. No end user, shouldn't say no. Very small percentage of end users are buying those type of properties. I'm seeing it. They're sitting on the market at low prices relative to everything else. They're still not selling.
But Toronto is the type of city where you can live in that and you're like, okay, I'm out and about. Like when you go to Toronto, it's like, it's hustle and bustle. And no matter how much crowds, it's not New York City. It is our equivalent of New York City. It is moving. It's on the go. There's lots of pubs. There's lots of bars. There's lots of outdoor lifestyle. There's tons of people on the street. So you're out of your house a lot. When you sell that same unit in downtown Surrey and people in Surrey spend most of their time in their living accommodation.
Sure.
That's where things start not to make sense.
But if you look at where the prices are right now, like let's say it's a $450,000 condo, right? That's what you're getting in King West for a small unit that might be a bachelor or that's pretty much what they cost. Okay, so figure out what down payment you have, where interest rates are at today. You add everything up. That's still more than $3,000 a month in total carrying costs to rent. It's a lot of rent because you're paying interest, but to own a tiny condo in a great area that you have a million things that you could do and walk around, or you could rent that same thing right now or something similar for like 23. Like it's just so much cheaper to rent right now, even though I know that's not the long-term goal for a lot of people. The gap is just really big. It really does cost a lot more and you need the down payment to buy something.
So if I was an end user, given today's prices, and I had the possibility, this is the first time I ever think I'm going to get here. I think after 2 years, we've come around, Tom. If I was an end user and my option was to live in and buy a studio apartment or rent one, I would definitely rent one.
Oh my God. Clip this, editor. Clip it.
In this fictional world, I am also
not a fictional
Maple Leafs fan. No, I'm also a Maple Leafs fan, and I live in downtown Toronto. Yeah. Right? But I guess you have to look at that and say, okay, well, if I'm going to do the same thing, because I don't think studios are, well, I don't think they should be real. Like, I don't think they should be built.
But you can't make a statement like that. You don't get to you don't get to choose what people are allowed to live in. That's not your.
No. But they're not. I mean, should you be allowed to do junior one beds and not have a proper bedroom? I don't think we should.
For tenant, landlord, or homeowner insurance policies, go to squareone.ca/The Tom Storey Show. Use the link in the description. Save $20 when you start your free quote right now.
I don't think we should allow people to live in dark.
You could have a bachelor unit that's 1,000 square feet without a real bedroom, and that's a different conversation, right? So you just mean having a bedroom, right?
Make a bedroom.
All right,
bedroom developers.
Let me get back on track here. Typically, condos work in Toronto because they service 4 categories of the market: first-time home buyers, downsizers by bigger floor plan, older buildings. You have the luxury condo buyer pool, which doesn't really care. They just want something really nice. I mean, they care, but you get what I mean. They have a lot of money. And then you have investors, or you used to have investors. That's who bought it.
Mm-hmm.
We do not love condos in Toronto. We love the price of condos in Toronto comparative to buying a house in Toronto. That's what we love about condos in Toronto. If you look at the last 5 years, going over March and April so far numbers, okay? 5 years in a row for downtown condos, the prices are honestly very, very similar almost every month. They're basically the same. Like nothing has really changed in those 5 years. The 5 years prior to that, condo prices almost doubled. We had a massive run up. And then from basically March of 2020, condos up and down several times, but average sale price is pretty much in line with what we had seen before.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem, and Steve Saretsky brought this up when we had him on the show, is right now you can't build a building in Toronto without selling 70% of the units out. And no end users are going to buy. I shouldn't say no. Very few end users are going to buy because I'm going to live there in this condo. So it's targeted towards investors because that's who they have to sell to so they can actually build it. Unless we come down on a level of government that says, hey guys, or banking, we'll lend you this money because I guess there's so much risk involved here. You can start building, and you get what I'm trying to say with this. It's hard to even bring this thought together, but you need to find a way that end users would want to even buy new construction. Because if this system remains the same, it will always just be targeted towards investors because an end user doesn't want to wait 5 years. Okay.
Yeah. For a high rise.
Yes, correct. That's mostly what I'm talking about here for my city. Yeah. That's why this whole 30-year amortization for assured mortgages in Toronto it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything.
No, won't do
There
anything.
is still a 30 to 40% premium buying new construction. Steve, I had someone call me the other day that listens to, I don't think it was the podcast. I think it was the main channel. No idea who he was. And he said, I want to buy in this building. And I basically said, like, I'm telling you, man, do not do it. I don't care if you use me. If I say no, I just hope don't go to someone else that's going to tell you what you want to hear. It was like $2,000 a square foot. It was $800 and something thousand for under 500 square feet. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, I can literally send you a list of 50 buildings, 50.
But they've got this great 100 square foot unit, Tom. It's only $200,000.
Either I'm not doing a good enough job educating people on the difference here, or just no one's listening, or it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. I know it's not just me, obviously.
I know what it is. Developers are extremely good at marketing. Yeah. And so I've had a similar conversation lately, and I was just like, of course they told you, like, this is the best investment. This place, this is the building I want to buy in. And I'm like, you're crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And they're just like, I'm like, did the developer tell you this or this or this? And they're like, no, they didn't tell me any of that. I'm like, yeah, right. Exactly. They didn't tell you that if you walk downstairs, walk out of their sales center, and walk across the street into the 2-year-old building, you can buy the exact same thing for $200,000 less today.
Yep.
Well, I don't have the down payment for today. Well, save the down payment, because by the time that thing comes, it's
not worth the risk to have the structured payment. You're paying such a premium for most cases. As of right now, the average condo price in the city of Toronto is $729,000. The average semi-detached house is $1.3 million. That's a $600,000 gap. The average detached property is just over $1.7 million. So from condo to detached, you have $1 million gap in price.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, that was 700,000. I've been tracking this for a long time. So
What
the last
percentage, what is it?
I don't know. I have to go back. Yeah, that's a good question. It's still way higher now. It's still way higher now than it was.
Like for us, generally speaking, detached has always been double townhouse.
Okay.
Right. So like when I did, the only problem is when I sold and it was double townhouse, I sold for $350 and bought for $700.
Right.
Now it's like selling for $900 and buying for $1.8. So you have to be able to finance that. That's actually why I see the detached market in my area probably coming down.
So the last 5 years of condo prices not really doing anything or going up and down several times and kind of leveling off to where they started. Detached houses and semi-detached houses have done really, really well, including a massive dip we saw obviously after the peak, but still very, very well. So they are running way ahead in this race, and either those prices need to come down or condo prices need to go up to get that gap a little bit closer. So one of those two things I think happens. It's going to be all dependent on what happens with inventory. But right now there's lots of condo inventory and not a lot of the others.
So which one do you think it's going to be?
Oh, I think, so this is interesting, right? If you look at who's buying the detached properties, actually a lot of the people buying the detached properties and semis are people that owned condos, but bought in like 2015. And the condo equity helped them buy these properties. So they have this large chunk of equity that's helping them get up. But then if you look at who's buying the condos, so if you go back to that, what we talked about, those 4 different categories, yeah, luxury has the money, but they're not buying the stuff that's on the market right now. There's a different category for the high end. The investors, but they have no interest right now at today's interest rates. And then you got the first time home buyers who were buying all the condos. They don't have a down payment.
You know what's crazy? What I'm seeing right now and what is kind of inexplicable for me is last year when the market was doing good and the market was doing bad and there was 4% interest rates and then there was 6.5% interest rates. That time we had lots of first-time buyers. Right now we have very few first-time buyers. So we've got very few first-time buyers. We have very few investors, if any.
Yeah, the first-time home buyers has dipped off a lot for sure. I've seen that.
And if you don't have, this is my mentor told me for ages and ages and ages, if you don't have first-time buyers entering the market, you just don't have a market because they are feeding the whole thing, right? They are getting into the process. So you have to do everything you can in order to get first-time buyers into the market so the rest of the market can continue.
Because most of the transactions taking place right now is just the musical chairs thing, right? It's just the equity flipping around here to there to here to there.
It's actually a super nice market to work in as a realtor because every client you have has 2 transactions instead of every client you have has 1 transaction. So it's actually fine by me. But it's like I wish there was more folks that could find a way to get in right now because that seems to be what's stalling the market.
I got to tell you what, investors better hope that all the 4 banks we talked about earlier in this episode are correct in what they're going to do with rates. Because still to this point in time, and I ran these numbers yesterday again to make sure they were still on track, almost 70% of active condo listings in the city of Toronto are vacant or tenanted. On the not all condos. That's not what I'm saying.
Did you just mic drop something?
I actually had. I had a little Coca-Cola. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And it fell in front of me. But that's like the sound when an ad comes on the show.
The sound's actually important.
But anyway, so long story short in all this for condos, it's like currently where we stand, although I'm making it maybe when I went over those numbers seem like, wow, look what's going on here. Yeah, we're still in the balanced market and nothing will change with prices if we remain where we are. If we increase our inventory, prices could go down. If inventory comes off the market, prices could go up. But if for it to have a meaningful difference in the condo market right now, you have to have interest rates drop, because that will let the investors come back in or keep the properties that they have because they're not getting hit as hard. And what Ravi brought up, I don't know, whenever he was on the show months ago or whatever, is true. There's two absolutely different condo markets happening right now. There's the condo market that you want to buy, and then there's the rest. There's the buildings that are mostly owner occupied, that are well maintained, that everyone knows about. And then there's all this group of buildings that was sold just to investors because that's what the developer had to do to sell them out. And it's very clear. Like, it's very clear in the ones that are selling that the good ones are moving.
Oh, this is so good. So, okay. I agree with you 100%. Now, my argument was we shouldn't remove the rental restrictions. So the argument you just made is for rental restrictions, so they build things of which owners want to live in, and then
we've never had rental restrictions.
I know, but in BC they've removed the rental restrictions. So you just made a very good argument about why one of the Ravi's policies that they brought in, which I don't think was Ravi's policy, I think it was David Evy's policy, was one that was like, I actually view removing the rental restrictions as a way to make sure there's more renters and to make housing for purchasing less affordable. And the reason for that is, now you used to have complexes in BC that were only getting bid on by end user occupiers. Now you've got this whole thing where rentals should be everywhere. So they removed the rental restrictions. Now investors are buying those units because guess what? They were cheaper. So where do we end up?
They used to be cheaper.
They used to be cheaper, and now they're not. And now you can put a renter anywhere you want. So it's another double-edged sword, right? You do things to increase rental stock, and you end up screwing people in their chances of buying. So silly policy. I think we should really think before we change things, for instance, open bidding, final offer, all that stuff, before we change that stuff, we should probably really have a conversation about why it was there in the first place. And I don't think we do that well.
No, so we don't typically do that.
Before we remove all the rental restrictions, we should probably find out why people wanted rental restrictions and what the effects of rental restrictions were, rather than just, oh, let's rip off this Band-Aid and then you screw up something else in the future.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up with a quote from a previous guest we've had who's making a lot of noise on his social media recently, Mr. Brad Lamb. I agree with pretty much everything he's saying these days. We simply don't have enough money to solve Canada's housing crisis.
No, that's why we're stealing it from future generations and paying interest on it.
Yeah, but that's where we're at right now. Like even if immigration comes down to 500,000 people a year, we
what do you mean come down? That's double pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, but it's still coming down from 1.2 million or whatever the number was. Yeah. All right, we're going long. I got to get in my car and go talk to people about
270. When you were making 270,000 houses a year and you were importing 270,000 people, things made sense.
Right
now they don't make sense. Get it back down to 250. None of this. Oh, if we could only slash it to double, that would be great. Get out of here,
Steve. We've got a fun guest coming up. I don't know what episode it's going to be on, but we just booked someone that will be fun. I think our audience is really going to like them.
If they don't cancel.
I don't think they'll cancel.
Hopefully not.
They're not surrounded by a team of people trying to protect them. They're an individual making their own decisions. I don't think they'll cancel.
And you're going on a vacation, so we're doing this before vacation, then we're going to do the other one after vacation.
I have no clue what you're talking about that. No idea what you're talking about.
You're not going on a vacation? You're not going away? Are you going to Disney?
No, I'm going somewhere that is much better than Disney, but I'm not going to disclose my whereabouts to the internet.
Okay. I won't tell anybody.
All right. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. Steve, always a fun catch-up episode. Words of wisdom to wrap it up, please.
Will you do a report on where you didn't go and how much it didn't cost you to go when we come back?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't tell us where you went, but tell us how much it cost.
Oh, I didn't even talk about it. My renos are almost done. I can move back into my house soon. I'm very excited. We can talk about all those numbers in a future episode. Okay.
We should talk about numbers in a future episode because
We
I
will,
want to know
once
how
it's
much
done.
you're spending on that stuff and how much you should be paying down your mortgage. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Bye.
You can end the show now. Bye.